Hello everybody, so today I'm going to do a little something different. I want to sit here and talk to you for a little while. I've got several things that are on my mind. The first thing I want to start with today is the verse of the day, which I really liked. I actually ran across it on accident, but I thought it was really great. It's Psalms 42:8, which says, "By day the Lord directs his love, at night his song is with me." And that's a prayer to the God of my life. And I think that's very apropos to what I'm going to talk about, because a lot of this can be fixed by just keeping God the Lord of your life. And it's very, very simple. So what I wanted to go ahead and just dive in today is I wanted to do an abortion video, but I'm going to do it a little differently this time because my husband sent me this link from an article from ABC News 4 covering the passing of Texas House Bill 214, requiring people to pay an additional insurance premium if they want insurance to cover their abortions. So I have this battle inside myself at times, where on one hand, I can't stand to see the government intervene, but on this subject, I cannot help but cheer for this law and think it's just not enough. When it comes to the crux of the argument, it is, to quote Ben Shapiro, if it's a baby, you can't do anything with it, and if it's not, it doesn't matter what you do with it. And indeed, this is where I find myself. I believe that a fetus is a human being. I know, scientifically speaking, that the zygote displays the four evidences of life: growth, reproduction, and let's say even if you discount the twin asexual production notion, a fetus is a logical result of sexual reproduction between humans. Do we not create other humans? You know, it's not some weird thing where we only create other humans after this time frame when we're not human. That doesn't make sense. Okay, and then metabolism in response to stimuli is only the first stage of human growth, and is therefore worth the fight that we are having. I know that I agree with the American College of Pediatricians, who say, the body of scientific evidence that corroborates that a unique human life starts when the sperm and egg bind to each other in a process of fusion of their respective membranes, and a single hybrid cell called the zygote, or one-cell embryo, is created. So that's not the Bible, that's scientists and doctors saying this is what happens. So just to dive into the Bible is very clear in Psalm 139:13 and 14 that we are knit together in the womb. And I find this very accurate description if you think about it, if you've ever watched anyone knitting. Whenever you knit, you fold over and you fold over and you fold over until you've created whatever you were making, a scarf or a hat or whatever it is. In the Bible, it uses the same, that imagery is the same imagery. When we are being created, we split, and it's said that in the zygote phase, the very first one, there's folding and unfolding and things like that happens. So I think it's very, apropos to what's going on. So I believe we are, in the most literal sense, fighting for the lives of the helpless. I have in the past battled the idea that maybe we don't make it illegal, but only make it socially unacceptable, and discourage doctors from performing them. However, because I believe two humans create another, I can't stand by and not fight against the murder of the most helpless of us all, and that's children. I would encourage anyone listening to consider this also. We don't allow people to kill a child, no matter what they look like, right? It's considered a most egregious act because it's a murder of the helpless, the killing of our own futures, and the death knell of all unique cultures. If you have no children to pass on your cultural stuff to, then it dies, right? Without children, nothing of humanity continues. So just think about that. Should we so boldly continue in killing off our future? Should we so boldly continue to murder our cultures and pieces of ourselves? I don't think so. I have provided in my description websites you can visit that discuss the scientific side of things that you can peruse at your leisure, including the link to the Texas House bill. So now on to something a little different. So around where I live in the South, and the whole thing right now is the statues being torn down, right? And I don't particularly care at first. I was like, who cares about some statues? And this idea basically comes from when I was younger. This has happened before, and I can remember when it happened. And I didn't care then either. I did not see the point of arguing over it. The point of having statues was to remember our history, as so many other statues are used for. So when I think of statues, I think instantly of Easter Island. I don't know about you guys, but that's what I think of. And the statues there are of ancestors they worshipped or believed would help them in some way. Were all these ancestors good guys? No, I'm sure they weren't, I'm sure when someone's statue was pulled up, people also remember the bad things this person did. I think another good example of the statue is the statue of the King of Hawaii, King Kamehameha, which is funny if you're into anime. He is hailed as their warrior king who brought Hawaii into the ruling class period of its history through civil war with his cousin, right? So do you think he did this without shedding Hawaiian blood? Without atrocities? Do you believe there are families in the now united Hawaiian Islands that don't remember these atrocities, who are maybe on the other side? I don't think so. I think just like with any statue, he is there on official governmental land as a reminder of the tragic past of Hawaii and to encourage future generations towards peace. The Bible also looks at statues two different ways, right? So the first is positive, and that's found in Joshua 4:4-7. So Joshua called together the 12 men he had appointed from the Israelites, one from each tribe. And he said to them, "Go over there before the ark of the Lord your God into the middle of the Jordan. Each of you is to take up a stone on his shoulder according to the number of tribes of the Israelites, to serve as a sign among you. In the future, when your children ask you, 'What do these stones mean?' tell them that the flow of the Jordan was cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it crossed the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. These stones are to be a memorial to the people of Israel forever." So you can see in this story, this is after their bout with slavery. They've been freed, and now they've crossed over Jordan. This is to remember, so people know, hey, so they can pass on to their kids, hey, this is what happened. This is what God did for us. And it can be remembered forever, never forgotten, right? So that's the negative and the positive together. They have this memory now. So the second that it has is as a negative found in Psalm 115:4-8. Alright, and this is, "Their idols are silver and gold, the work of human hands. They have mouths but do not speak, eyes but do not see. They have ears but do not hear, noses but do not smell. They have hands but do not feel, feet that do not walk. They do not make a sound in their throat. Those who make them become like them, so do all who trust in them." God also says, don't be making idols and worshiping them. Don't be making these things and putting your trust in things that are these inanimate objects that really just mean nothing, right? So for me, it comes down to these two thought processes. Are we using these statues as reminders to teach our children, or are we worshiping them? For me, the statues are reminders of the good and the bad, just like the Israelites remembering that they were once slaves and now are free. That's why I don't want them taken down. I think that they're there for a good reason and we should leave them there. So what do you guys think about all this? I'd like to hear what you think. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is something that's been nagging at me in the back of my mind. So the PC culture that we have seen give birth to Antifa, social justice warriors, and safe spaces all reminded me of something, but I just couldn't put my finger on it. So while my husband, brother, and I were driving around, I was listening to their conversation. And then it finally clicked, just like that. These people are all like the Pharisees. Now, what do I mean by that? And what I'm thinking of specifically are the restrictive laws founded by the Pharisees and the way Jesus reacted to them. Okay, so the Pharisees were religious leaders in the time of Jesus and before, who would give people instructions like you could only walk down the road for so far. You know, in some of their laws is you can't even leave tracks on grass because it looks like it might be work. That kind of just ridiculous sort of thing. So the way that Jesus reacted to them, though, and one of the reactions can be found in Matthew 23, starting in verse 27. You really should read the whole chapter because it's all very good. But this one, verse 27 specifically, says, "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites." And I don't know how many times I have watched stuff about social justice warriors and seen how hypocritical it is, right? You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside. So that's like, they're saying you can't be hurting people's feelings and all this other stuff, right? But on the inside are full of the bones of the dead and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside, you appear to people as righteous. But on the inside, you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness. So, just like the Pharisees, the PC culture people, and the safe spaces people, and the Antifa people, and all of this, they try and say, look, we are righteous. The phrase that's used right now that I hear the most is social genuflexing or like moral signaling or what have you. I can't think of it now. I wish I'd written it down. But they do this to say, look how good we are. Look how moral we are. Right? And so many things that they say at times, it may sound good. It may start to sound good. Like, oh, yeah, we shouldn't hurt people's feelings. Oh, no, we shouldn't. But that shouldn't turn into, you know, the issues the way they're bringing them up. So what I'm trying to say here is they have this sweet sound of common sense, but once pushed, show itself to be the corrupted bones of hate. And basically the way you can see that is because, for example, they'll say, you can't make fun of people, you have to use the words they want you to use and all this other stuff. But when you say, no, I'm not going to use those words, or you say, no, that hurts me, they don't care. Right? Because you can't hurt this other person. This other person is worth more than you and things like that. So Antifa shows this to us, the social justice squad reducing us all to colors and sex shows this to us, right? So let's not follow the Pharisees in their new clothes, but continue to follow the uncorrupted law given by God of equality, justice, mercy, and love. So in closing, I'd just like to request you all pray for this nation. This nation, always needs it. Many are being led astray, and many still are struggling with what the right thing is. So stay in your Bibles, guys, and be blessed. See you later. Till next week.